what I call the very obvious questions. So we'll move down one each time. We'll start with you. I'll have a time on it, but don't feel panicked. We'll start at the very end. We'll start at the top. The question is this a full-time job? And whatever your answer is, I want you to qualify that. You know, it might be a yes or it might be a no answer. And you have time to think about that. And we'll go down the whole table. And when it comes to questions, if I ask you to have the questions for the whole panel rather than an individual person, I think that'd be important as well. So, is this a full-time, do you see it's a full-time job? And whatever your answer is, can you qualify your answer, please?
I do think it's a full-time job. It says in the job spec it's a full-time job. In fact, I think it's more than that. I think you live and breathe it. I know other MLCs have done. Because I am open and transparent, I have got my own company. I'll do it in my sleep. I've got a great partner who will step up and take that on. But
so will you step down from that or not step down?
No, I won't step down.
So it won't be a full-time?
I will do a full-time job as my MLC role if I'm elected, but I am a complete workaholic and I can take on anything. So yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you very much.
I don't think there'll be many surprises. I suspect it's going to be 7 yeses that you receive, Paul. Absolutely, it's a full-time job. It's a huge commitment to the island in order to exercise the appropriate diligence to do the job justice. I don't see how you could do that in anything less than a full-time job. In my working career, I've never had a 9-to-5 job. It's doing what needs to be done and spending the time available. So for this, I would see it very much in the same vein. There'll be work that needs to be done, and I will dedicate to that the time that's needed. Full disclosure, I'm under pain of death from my wife that I support her with Swinging the Aisle, which is a dancing group on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays. I'm told that as a glamorous assistant I have to continue to do that, which is an unpaid job, and I will be continuing to support her with that, but other than that, the MLC role will be my sole occupation.
Like Corelli and Craig, I too view the MLC role as a full-time job. I have a full-time job now, which I would swap out, but I'd still remain active in foraging vintners. But we're lucky we're at a stage of how the business is running where we have people who are managing the operations, and I'm mainly involved in helping doing strategic decisions about product development and whatnot. And my husband, I'm fortunate enough, is got a pretty solid grip on the reins of how we're going. So I definitely view this as a full-time job. I feel that the last set of MLC candidates that came through and up through the ranks have raised the standard, they've raised the bar, and we need to keep it there, and we need to keep that energy and that enthusiasm for the role that it can do to support the MHKs and the House of Keys. We need to keep it at that level.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, I see it as a full-time job. I'm expecting that if I was able to take on this role, that it would be full-time plus. It's the sort of role that enormous amount of paperwork, things to read and so on, but beyond that it's a bottomless pit in terms of what you can research, investigate, explore, and the issues you can raise and the scrutiny you can begin to gain ideas on and so on. And I've got the full support of my wife and family away, and we're expected to be a full-time plus role. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, much like everybody else, I would certainly see it as a full-time role. As I'm sure we all have as part of my due diligence process for this job, I've engaged with MHKs and current MLCs as well. From chatting to those, there's nothing short of this being a full-time job in terms of the various aspects that come with it, in terms of the scrutiny aspect, in terms of those active roles you need to play within Tynwald. For me, it would represent a full-time job, and it would represent a career change as well. I think it was Bill highlighted before, it is only for a short term, but if elected, I'm confident that within that short term I'd be able to demonstrate my value to Tynwald. So in terms of me, from personally, it would be a career change. As a serving teacher, obviously there would be a notice period that I would have to serve, and almost a kind of managed exit, if you like, from school, because I've got commitment to particular exam classes and GCSE classes at the moment, so that would just need to be managed. But once that was out of the way, it certainly would represent a full-time job for me also.
Thank you, Dan.
I have to say, I don't know if it's a full-time job yet, but I do know I have to give up my full-time job to be able to do it. So why do I say it that way? I think, like with all jobs, you can make them fill 24 hours of your day or do 2-3 hours a day and think you've got away with it. My plan would be to do what I do in all my jobs, in all the different things I've done in my life, and that I would give my all to it, and therefore I will be expecting to work full-time and more. And I'll know more once there's elections, we know what's happening next. But no, I would treat it as a full-time job. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Yes, it's a full-time job. I've got no other commitments, and I absolutely fully engage in all aspects of the role and involved, and I can start immediately and will add value from day one. So I think the taxpayer would get good value for money.
Okay, thank you. Screw it.